Hey, how are you?
Hey, Brandon. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, too. Thank you.
So you're probably best known as the lead vocalist of Incubus, but you're also an artist, author, and now stage musical actor. Tell me about it.
I don't know if I can call myself an actor just yet. I'll let you do that. I'm on my way. I'm put it that way. I'm on my way. This will be my first foray into the world of musical theater, and I'm going to concentrate more on the singing part than I am the acting at first, and hopefully the acting will fall into place if I can sing these parts well. I'll do my very best to do them justice, because I definitely have some big shoes to fill with this role.
Yeah, let's talk about your upcoming performance in Jesus Christ Superstar. How did that happen?
I'm going to have to go ahead and blame my parents for that one. Both of my parents were in theater before I was born, and my mom did musical theater. She played Gypsy and among other roles when she was very young. But then their enthusiasm for it didn't stop when they sort of stopped being involved in it. So they were playing Andrew Lloyd Webber's records in the car, my brothers and I, when we were growing up. I know this album, Jesus Christ Superstar, as well as many of Lloyd Webber's other albums. So when this came up, when I got the offer to do this, it was strange. It was like a weird kind of karmic full circle thing, which really has only added to the excitement.
You're playing the role of Judas. That must be wild.
Judas is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting historical figures that we have, for so many reasons, not the least of which is that I do believe he is perhaps one of the most misunderstood characters. And, Jesus probably is as well. But in this imagining of it, this show takes place on the last 7 days of Christ's life. I myself am not a religious person, but you don't have to be a religious person to appreciate the gravity and the implications of the story that we're telling here. And we're telling it in song. So what better way to tell an old story, a 2,000-year-old story, than to sing about it?
Yeah, Judas might be the best example ever of necessary evil, I guess. I know you're spiritual, so it must be an adventure playing him.
I think that's a great way to put it, yes. And you are right. I do consider myself a spiritual person, and not, like I said, not a religious person, but a person who's on a spiritual path. And perhaps as a result of that, I like to look at stories and encounters from as many different perspectives as possible before coming to a conclusion. So not having been present during the original telling of this story as it was acted out, all I have are stories and interpretations and things. So that, to me, is where it's going to be the most interesting in sort of embodying this role, is that all we have are these speculations and the stories and all these things. There's no sort of finite version of what really happened. That's where the term misunderstood comes in. I think Judas is perhaps the most misunderstood.
Yeah, so a guy from NSYNC is playing Pontius Pilate. Destiny's Child's Michelle Williams is Mary Magdalene. But maybe the most interesting casting choice is the Sex Pistols' Johnny Rotten as King Herod.
Not maybe. Definitely the most interesting. He's, I just met him last week and was, around him for a few days for the first rehearsals and for the, press launch and stuff. And he's a rad guy. I'm really looking forward to being around him this summer. And I think that is the coolest decision to get him for the part of King Herod. I can't see how it's not going to be awesome.
So funny. Johnny Rotten as King Herod. So who's playing Jesus? Marilyn Manson?
That would be interesting, too. No, there's a young guy called Ben Forster who's from England, and he played Jesus in the most recent show that just toured across the UK and Australia in 2012 and part of 2013. They kept him on because he's so good in the part. I've seen the most recent show where he played Jesus, and he's so phenomenal at it that there was no improving on it. It had to be him.
All right, so what's going on with Incubus? I heard you guys are going to get together early next year?
Yeah, that's at the moment, that's the idea. We got together just a couple of weeks ago, and we're tossing around ideas about timing and stuff. And right now, our kind of loose idea is to get back together in a studio and plug in and see what happens sometime around the beginning of the year. If I know us at all, that's all it really takes, is to just kind of plug in and hit play, and good things usually start to happen right away. So I'm actually really excited about that.
Incubus is one of the most original sounding bands probably in the last 20 years. I never asked this question because it's so generic, but I think it fits for you guys because you're so original sounding. Who are your guys' main influences?
When we were growing up, Michael and Jose and I, we started this band when we were 15. And we started the band in 91, but by the time we really started writing our own music, it was the beginning of 92. So we had Nevermind by Nirvana, we had Pearl Jam 10, we had Rage Against the Machine, we had Soundgarden, we had Alice in Chains, we had the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Mr. Bungle, Primus, and all these bands, this generation of bands from that time period, the early to the mid-90s. Those are all bands that made us want to be in a band. And so at first, what we were doing our best impressions of all of those bands kind of put together. We were like just stealing ideas from all of those bands. And I'd say right around the mid-90s, we started to kind of find our own voice. By the late 90s, things started kind of going well for us. So since then, anything and everything has been influencing us. And I think that's what's cool about stretching out and doing things like musical theater. And I've been writing music with Brendan O'Brien, the Sons of the Sea, and all of these things are all reference points for us when we do get back in the studio together.
Yeah, speaking of Sons of the Sea, tell me about that new project.
When Brendan and I wrote the record and recorded it, it was just him and I, and we didn't really know what it was or what it was going to be. We just both had a mutual interest in writing music together, and it wasn't on a record label, have a manager, there was nothing. It was just wide out in the open. The only reason that I've ever wanted to make music was just purely out of a desire to see what happens when you hit this chord and you sing this thing and you channel these lyrics. Good things happen, I think, when you make music out of that place of integrity. And so that's really what it was. And Incubus was, taking a break. But that doesn't mean that I want to stop making music. It just means we needed to get off the road for a minute.
Well, full disclosure, I was in a cover band and we performed some Incubus songs. Sorry, I never paid you royalties.
No worries, man. What songs did you guys do?
Well, of course, we did Drive, Nice to Know You. Oh, gosh, it's hard to think.
I mean, to put you on the spot. That's rad, though.
Talk Show on Mute.
Right on. That's amazing.
Well, thanks, Brandon. It was a pleasure, and we'll see you here with the Jesus Christ Superstar Arena Spectacular at the AAC in Dallas. That's coming through June 22nd. Great talking to you, my friend.
Thank you.